Like to get like the people.
Masjid al-Aqsa is a very vital and essential place to Muslims that is near and dear to our heart due to its unique and rich history as a place of worship. It is so closely intertwined with the lives of many of the prophets of Islam, as well as for its special status as the masjid to which travel is recommended and in which reward is increased. Inshallah, I will be giving a PowerPoint summary of the history of this beautiful mosque. My presentation will be divided into three sections, from Prophet Adam alayhi salam to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, from Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam to 1917, and finally from 1917 to the present day. Al-Masjid al-Aqsa was the first Qibla in Islam, and it has been a significant and important place of worship for the prophets of Islam. It was built 40 years after Al-Masjid al-Haram in Mecca. There are different opinions between Islamic scholars on who actually built Al-Masjid al-Aqsa, with some scholars and historians asserting the view that Al-Masjid al-Aqsa was built by Prophet Adam alayhi salam, and the others' opinions that it was built by Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam. It has been renovated many times in the history of Islam. It was a well place of worship at the time of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, and for his son Prophet Ishaq alayhi salam, and his grandson Prophet Yaqub alayhi salam. When Prophet Yaqub's son, Prophet Yusuf alayhi salam, attained a position of power in Egypt, he asked his family to join him and escape the poverty that engulfed Palestine. At this point, as there were no one left amongst the Prophet Yaqub's progeny to look after Al-Masjid al-Aqsa, which at the time had the name of Bethel or House of God, caring for this blessed place was entrusted the native population of the land, who were also followers of Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, the Palestinians. The Israelis immigrated to Egypt, seeking a better material life, remained there for approximately 4 centuries, and became slaves to the Egyptians. This slavery only ended when Prophet Musa alayhi salam freed them from Fir'aun under the command of Allah. However, the Israelis rejected the orders of Allah to return to Palestine, and they were thus commanded to live and wander through the desert of Sinai for 40 years. This ended when a new generation was born, containing within it Prophet Dawood alayhi salam, who led his generation of believers to Palestine. Prophet Dawood alayhi salam established his kingdom in part of Palestine and controlled Jerusalem. His son, Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam, rebuilt Al-Masjid al-Aqsa with the help of the local indigenous population, and next to it he built the ruler's palace. After Prophet Sulaiman's death, his 2 sons divided his kingdom amongst themselves, with each having its own capital. These kingdoms existed for a very short period of time, approximately 200 years, with the last king of Jerusalem in the dynasty being dethroned in 586-587 BC, as he tried to resist the Babylonians led by King Nebuchadnezzar, but failed due to a crippling siege that the Babylonians had placed on the city. Shortly after the Babylonians took control of Jerusalem, Al-Masjid al-Aqsa was destroyed again. The Persians overthrew the Babylonians, during which time efforts to rebuild Al-Masjid al-Aqsa as a place of worship were renewed. But in the period thereafter, ownership changed hands numerous times, and Al-Masjid al-Aqsa was destroyed, rebuilt, and then destroyed again within a century by the Romans in 70 AD after a revolt in the city. By 315 to 325 AD, the Romans and the people residing in their land no longer had any regard for Al-Masjid al-Aqsa and no longer treated it as a place of sanctity and worship, with the site of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa actually being used as a place of disposal for the citizens of the city. This is how Al-Masjid al-Aqsa remained for this next few hundred years until Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam revived once again the spirituality of this blessed place, and his great companion Umar ibn al-Khattab radiallahu anhu liberated the city. Al-Masjid al-Aqsa has a very unique place in the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam for many reasons. Firstly, Al-Masjid al-Aqsa was central to the lives of his fellow prophets alayhi salam, with whom he shared an exceptional bond, as the Islam taught by Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, is a continuation, completion, and perfection of the religion and message of the monotheism preached by all the prophets of Allah, including Prophet Adam alayhi salam, Prophet Nuh alayhi salam, Prophet Ibrahim alayhi salam, of whom Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi salam was descended through Ismail alayhi salam, Prophet Musa alayhi salam, Prophet Dawood alayhi salam, Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam, and Prophet Isa alayhi salam, to name a few. Al-Masjid al-Aqsa also by definition had a central place in his life and heart. In addition to this, up until the second year of Hijrah, 623 or 624 AD, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam turned and faced Al-Masjid al-Aqsa as the direction of his prayers. In his lifetime, though, the most memorable reason why Al-Masjid al-Aqsa had such a significance is because it was the place in which he traveled on the night of Isra. It was the location from which he made his miraj to the heavens. In the books of Hadith, we learn that the Prophet ﷺ went to visit the Kaaba at night and fell asleep. The angel Gabriel, then awoke him to visit him and led him to a winged beast named Buraq. It was on Buraq that the Prophet ﷺ then made his journey to Jerusalem, a journey that would typically take 40 days. In just one momentous night. On reaching Jerusalem, the Prophet ﷺ met and led the previous prophets in prayer at the site of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa, and then embarked on the Miraj to the heavens. After the death of Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, the second Khalifa of Islam, who was also a close companion of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, Umar ibn al-Khattab, entered and mercifully liberated Jerusalem, accompanied by 40,000 Sahabas on the invitation of Christian leader at the time, without shedding blood, and the guarantee of protection for the lives, property, and places of worship of others within the city who remained there. As Umar's personality and characteristics closely resembled and matched those of the liberators of Jerusalem, foretold within scriptures, the people of the city were quick to embrace his rule. As mentioned earlier, when he arrived on the site of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa in 637 or 638, he didn't find a place of prayer, but rather a plot of land that had been left barren and had been used as a rubbish tip by the Romans. Upon seeing this, he took the responsibility to remove the waste with his own hands and rebuild Al-Masjid al-Aqsa. Both the Christians and the Jews were pleased with the arrival of Umar and the Muslims and with their just rule. The Muslims lost Al-Masjid al-Aqsa to the Crusaders in 1099 AD, and were the victim to Jerusalem. The Crusaders announced that they would not take any prisoners, resulting in a large proportion of Muslims fleeing to Al-Masjid al-Aqsa in order to seek refuge. The Crusaders later entered the blessed masjid and massacred thousands of Muslims inside. Al-Masjid al-Aqsa was then converted into a palace, and it took 88 years before the Muslims reclaimed it in 1187, under the leadership of the great leader Salahuddin Ayyubi. His reclamation of Jerusalem and Al-Masjid al-Aqsa was reminiscent of Umar ibn al-Khattab's liberation 5 centuries earlier, and was a stark contrast to the actions of the Crusaders just a generation prior. Like Umar ibn al-Khattab, Salahuddin Ayyub did not allow a massacre of civilians or soldiers, and after reclaiming Al-Masjid al-Aqsa, he also used his hands to clean the blessed land and famously sprinkled rosewater through the masjid. The Muslims once again had undermined control of Jerusalem and Al-Masjid al-Aqsa for a significant period of time, approximately 8 centuries, and their rule was characterized by peace, justice, and prosperity, with Al-Masjid al-Aqsa becoming a great center of learning with scholars from all over the world traveling to study and teach within its blessed precedence. Through almost the entire period, the Christians and Jews were provided safety and protection, and their rights were respected as people of the book. Thank you all for listening to my very long history and summary of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa. Barakallahu anhu. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Muhammad is my life, Muhammad is my teacher, Muhammad my beloved Rasulullah. Muhammad is my friend, Muhammad is my hero, Muhammad is my leader, the servant of Allah. Muhammad the kind, Muhammad the compassionate, Muhammad always smiles, beloved of Allah. Muhammad the great, Muhammad is the one, he's the seal of the prophets of Allah. I wanna walk like you, talk like you, read my Quran just like you. Wanna be like you in everything I do. You are the closest to Allah. I wanna smile like you, breathe like you, pray my salah just like you. Wanna be like you in everything I do. Ya Rasulullah. Muhammad is the light, Muhammad so gentle, Muhammad the radiant creation of Allah, Muhammad the humble, Muhammad so generous, Muhammad the faithful, the closest to Allah, Muhammad the honest, Muhammad the considerate, Muhammad the friend of Allah, Muhammad the trusted, Muhammad is the one, the last messenger of Allah. I wanna walk like you, talk like you, read my Quran just like you. Wanna be like you in everything I do. You are the closest to Allah. I wanna smile like you, read like you, pray my salah just like you. Wanna be like you in everything I do. Ya Rasulullah, Muhammad Rasulullah, Muhammad Rasulullah. Be like Muhammad, live like Muhammad, see like Muhammad did. Be like Muhammad, sleep like Muhammad did, give like Muhammad gave. Muhammad the shepherd, Muhammad the orphan, Muhammad the Nabullah protected by Allah. Muhammad the sheep, Muhammad the lead, he spread the deed of Islam. Shafi'ullah, Habibullah, Nabiullah, Rasulullah, Khalilullah, friend of Allah, Ya Rasulullah. Shafi'ullah, Habibullah, Nabiullah, Rasulullah, Khalilullah, friend of Allah, Ya Rasulullah, Ya Rasulullah.
Okay, I would like invite group A, B. You go on all the way on that side, in the right side, mommy side. Group C, D, boy.